We're live from Lagos. This is News Central. I'm Adeshawa Josh with the top stories this hour. Court dismisses application filed by former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele challenging its jurisdiction to hear the fraud case brought against him. National Assembly criticizes discrepancies between recurrent and capital expenditures, calls for improved capital project funding for 2024 budget. And United States accuses paramilitary Rapid Support Forces of committing genocide in Sudan, sanctions its chief, Mohammed Dagalo.
In business, Nigeria obtained $254.76 million loan from China Development Bank.
And in sports, reactions continue to trail the appointment of Eric Chelle as a new manager of the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
Tonight begins right now. We begin tonight with a court ruling dismissing an application filed by the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele. The verdict issued by an Ikeja Special Offences Court challenged its jurisdiction to hear the multi-billion-dollar fraud case brought against him. Mr. Emefiele faces a 26-count charge from the EFCC. He's accused of abuse of office and economic crimes, while his co-defendant, Henry Omoile, is charged with similar offences, including unlawful acceptance of gifts. Justice Rahman Oshodi, who delivered the judgment, held that the court had jurisdiction over counts 8 to 26, citing relevant legal authorities and evidence presented in the case file. The court, however, struck out counts 1 to 4, which centered on abuse of office through the allocation of foreign exchange without bidding, noting that such actions were not punishable under Nigerian law. President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday led a delegation of former presidents and state governors to the swearing-in ceremony of John Mahama as the 14th president of Ghana. Speaking as the guest of honor, President Tinubu asked African leaders to remain vigilant against external powers seeking to infiltrate their leadership ranks. So, what does this say about the current state of Ghana-Nigeria relations? Well, joining me.
Ghana swore in President-elect John Mahama in the capital, Accra, before some 20 regional leaders, as he promises to lift the West African gold and cocoa producer out of the doldrums. Mahama won 56% of the vote in the nation's presidential election on December 9th, defeating ruling party candidate and Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia, who secured 41% of the vote. He takes over from outgoing President Nana Akufo-Addo, who served 2 terms in power. Guest of honor was Nigerian President Bola Tinubu, highlighting the ever-strong relationship between the two countries.
Today, I am here not only as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
In his speech, Tinubu declared that the African continent would not allow any outside forces to disrupt the peace achieved by past heroes through their blood, sweat and lives. The president also called on African leaders to guard against external forces infiltrating their ranks. Being the 2 dominant economies in West Africa, the connection between Nigeria and Ghana plays a vital role in the region. Commercial links are especially significant, with Nigeria's substantial financial resources providing essential capital for Ghana. Even though the two countries do not share borders, Ghana and Nigeria have always acted like neighbours, due to being English-speaking and British former colonies in the midst of French-speaking countries. This has led to tensions over the years, more recently over bilateral trade differences and the law that restricts foreigners from retail trade in Ghana. For years, Ghanaian traders have said they do not want Nigerian traders in the markets. The economy became a major election issue in Ghana after it defaulted on its debt and entered into a $3 billion deal with the IMF. But with Ghana emerging from its worst economic downturn in years, the relationship it has with Nigeria is paramount for its recovery. News Central, I'm Afia Hagan.
And now she joins us now from the United Kingdom. Afia, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How would you describe Ghana-Nigeria relations in the last decade?
Well, yes, I think Nigeria has always acted like Ghana's big brother, and that has certainly brought the tensions over the years. And look, in the post-colonial struggles that the countries both had, we had very different kind of ways of going forward after colonialism. Ghana with Kwame Nkrumah was very much looking at a united Africa, whereas Nigeria with like the 250 ethnic groups had a different idea when it came to ruling. Ghana was much more about Pan-Africanism and unity, whereas Nigeria is much more about the regions and the regional differences. I hope I'm right in saying that. It was a very complex political landscape. And so I think because the country sort of had two different directions, that really has contributed to the tensions, but also that kind of sibling relationship that the countries have had over the years, and bringing us right up into 2024, where, you know, we may have cultural differences and cultural similarities, but very, very close relationships in things like trading, oil and gas, culture exchange, and things like that. It very much has shaped, you know, the relationship between Ghana and Nigeria over the years.
Right. Afia, I know you've been covering
as well.
I know you've been covering politics in Ghana. You're from Ghana yourself, and the last election you covered it for News Central. What would you say are the sectors that define the economic relationship between the two countries?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the economy was probably the hot button topic on the ground, talking to people when I was in Ghana for the election at the end of 2024. And so the key sectors that Nigeria and Ghana share are things like trade and commerce, trading in goods. You know, Ghana exports cocoa, cashews, and palm oil to Nigeria. Nigeria obviously exports oil, foodstuffs, and other things over the cross-border routes. Oil and gas, I mean, Nigeria very, very rich in oil and gas, and Ghana kind of coming through on that sector. Agriculture, another huge sector in agribusiness, with Ghana exporting goods like cocoa, shea, and tropical fruits to Nigeria, with Nigeria exporting products like rice, yam, and beans to Ghana. Banking and financial services, as well as another huge sector. Of course, Nigerian banks like Zenith, GTB, Access, very, very prominent in Ghana as well.
Right.
And infrastructure and construction. So these are the kind of areas of the economy that Ghana and Nigeria work closely on.
Thank you so much. News Central's international correspondent, Afia Hagan, speaking to us there from London, United Kingdom. Thank you so much for your thoughts tonight. Also, I'm being joined by a career diplomat, Joe Keshi, to share his perspectives on the Ghana-Nigeria relations. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. Where are you joining us from, by the way?
From the United Kingdom.
Oh, great. We have a lot of guests from the United Kingdom tonight. So my first question for you tonight as a diplomat who has watched Nigeria's relations with a lot of countries grow over the years, how would you say, or what would you say are the defining moments of the Nigeria-Ghana relations from independence to date?
Well, look, Ghana secured independence first from Nigeria, and as your correspondent pointed out, there were ideological differences initially. But the truth remains that Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Gambia are the closest allies of Nigeria on the West African coast, particularly Ghana, for so many reasons. And what we need to realize today is that the relationship is solid, the relationship is cordial in spite of the issues you pointed out, the disturbances at the marketplace. Mm-hmm. But Ghana is a friend, and Ghana is also a competitor. I think we need to accept that.
I think people forget about that.
Not just on the football field, but in almost all areas of development, and we just have to recognize that. And that itself, I think, should consolidate the relationship between the two countries, not just as neighbors, not just as a competitor, not just as friends,
right?
but the fact that we almost have the same trajectory in terms of our destiny.
Ambassador Keshi, I want to remind our viewers, and I want you to jump on this conversation about how both countries have feuded in the past over excessive influx of migrants. You remember the Ghana-Moscow situation. It did start with Ghana, though, expelling some Nigerians in the mid-50s, and Nigeria, in what seemed or looked like were reciprocation in the early 80s under the Shehu Shagari administration, also deported about 1 million Ghanaians from Nigeria. The situation has since changed. Talk us through how it was de-escalated.
Well, I think it was de-escalated simply because on both sides, the economic situation changed. On the Ghanaian side and on the Nigerian side, what led to the expulsion of Nigerians from Ghana and Ghanaians from Nigeria were all due to economic issues, security issues. But over the years, the economies of both countries have changed. Both countries have enjoyed some boom in their economies, and that itself has created a new direction and strength and confidence in both countries. Look, we need to accept the reality of today, that Ghana is a friend, Ghana is also a competitor, and we are both competing, within the same water, so to say.
All right, so let me come in quickly here.
As we move towards our economic development.
Before I let you go, what lessons can other African countries learn from how Ghana's relations with Nigeria has evolved over the years? And I'm kind of throwing that on African countries who are still feuding over one issue or the other, usually those who share boundaries with each other. What can they learn from these relationships?
No, I think, in my view, and I said this in a recent interview, Nigeria has the responsibility of ensuring, particularly with its neighbors, that it maintains the good neighborliness principle, policy that we maintained right from the 1960s to recently. We actually did a lot in those days. The governments did a lot, successive government did a lot to nurture that relationship to where it is today. And I think we should continue to nurture that relationship with Ghana, our neighbors, Benin, Niger, Chad, and Equatorial Guinea, and of course, as far back, Togo as well. These are countries that we did the best we could a couple of years ago to nurture the relationship, because at the end of the day, either economically or security, they are first, within the concentric circle. They are immediate neighbors, and we should pay attention to what's going on, in those countries as they pay attention to what's going on in Nigeria. We should remember that when we begin to grow, as I always argue, and become completely industrialized, these are going to be our first port of call. And
that's right.
And we are not just the only one in this kind of situation. You find that even in the industrial countries, right, they also have this relationship with their neighbors. So you find that the first port of call, right, for any American president is either Canada when he visits or Mexico. So that's exactly the kind of relationship we should also build with our neighbors, particularly Ghana.
Thank you so much. Ambassador Joe Keshi, a retired diplomat, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll take a look at the controversies surrounding the national budget 2025. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching Tonight on News Central. I'm Adeshawa Josh. Nigeria's lawmakers are still reviewing the proposed 2025 budget, which is estimated at 49.7 trillion naira. This means it may not be passed into law until next month. Economists have criticized the delay in passing the budget as Nigeria begins the 2025 fiscal year without an approved appropriation bill. The Senate President, Godwin Emefiele, had earlier proposed plans to introduce a bill extending last year's budget into June this year. It was said that the Nigerian government ran 2 budgets in 2024 and could potentially repeat the same in 2025, leaving many Nigerians wondering if the government cares about the impact of fiscal indiscipline on investment prospects and economic growth. To unpack this, I am joined by Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO Finance with Mukhtar, and Oladipo Ajayi, Head of Fixed Income, Chapel Hill, Denham. They're both joining me from Lagos. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Right now, we're going to go first to Mukhtar, and I'll start by saying Nigeria has recently experienced a disruption to its budget cycle. First of all, talk us through what the best practice is when it comes to implementing a budget.
Well, thank you for having me and the compliment of the season of Happy New Year. It all depends on it's just like a company. Every company determines where it should be its year end, unless when you have a regulator that will insist that a particular month becomes your year end. So for Nigeria, I think they've chosen January to be the beginning of the year and December to be their year end. And if you have done that, just like a company, that means you have to keep to it. If you, in some instance, like company, they want an extension. The extension is no more than 3 months. And that doesn't mean that extension means cover up. What it means is that they are waiting for 3 months to present their, excuse me, they are waiting in the next 3 months to present the last audited report of the last year. Not that the last year is running concurrently with the new year, no. So I think, like you said in your report, is our lack of physical discipline for us to continue to try to play around with the months of our budget. But again, like I said, have this really worked for Nigeria? If you look at it, have we really been able to do thorough looking through the budget before they are passed into law? Because when you want to pass a budget in January, then that means the president should present that budget sometime in September, giving the legislation almost 4 months to scrutinize that budget. A situation whereby you present the budget in December, you expect it to be passed immediately. That does not show due diligence, especially in a country like ours where we know that there's a lot of challenges, a lot of padding when it comes to budgets. So for me, I think January to December hasn't worked for Nigeria. So we must begin to think of what works for us instead of running concurrent budget every year.
Okay.
So for me, I think that's what we do.
Thank you for explaining it so succinctly and for the layman to understand. So talk us through what the implication of running or implementing the budget the way we have done it in the last 2 years is on the price of Gary, I would like to say. How does it affect the everyday Nigerian?
Of course it does. Number one, you've seen that in the rate of the exchange rate. Because of the kind of budget we've been running, we've not been able to maintain physical discipline. We see that in legislature's allowances and expenditure, especially recurrent expenditure. So with that, also that has not helped us also as a country to be able to have money to do other capital projects because you are running a lot of recurrent expenditure, just like running 3 recurrent expenditure almost at the same time. Definitely you will not have money for capital projects. That means you will not be able to build infrastructures. And so we are seeing that with the decay in terms of our infrastructure. And also for the price of Gary, like you have said, when you don't have physical discipline, you're not able to plan, and then you're not able to intervene in critical areas that bring down the cost of living, social investment like in healthcare, like in education. So all that has a negative impact, and it trickles down to buying and selling also. So for me, that also is very, very critical. When we don't do that again, it affects our budget, especially a country like ours that depends so much in importation of goods. That affects our exchange rate, because in one budget, you say exchange rate is 800, then you're not running on that budget, you say exchange rate is 1,400,
right.
You will run on that budget. So those are having negative impact on our economy.
Before I let you go, there are rumors that the reason why our lawmakers are delaying the passage of the 2025 budget is because they want to pass the tax reform bill so that they can add it. Please explain to our viewers what that means and if that is true.
Well, if it's a rumor, I mean, nobody have come out to authenticate it and said, oh, it is true or it's a rumor. And when you see government is silent about any issue, then definitely there must be a part of truth in that. Now, why I will agree with it is that that budget also is tied towards the tax reform bill, because a lot of profit, a lot of funding, a lot of funding that will fund that budget is going to be coming from that tax reform bill, especially in the area of value-added tax, in the area of taxation. So once that bill is not passed into law, definitely that means the tax reform bill it's not passed. It is. I mean, if you pass the budget without the tax reform bill, that means the current deficit of 13 trillion will increase, because most of the projects that are tied to that tax reform revenue will not see the light of the day. Definitely, I totally agree, because if you look at the budget expenditure and also where funds are expected to fund some of these projects, realize some of them have to come from the tax reform bill. Right. So definitely there's an atom of truth in that. If that is anything to go by, if you look at that budget, definitely that could just be why the budget is being delayed.
Well, thank you so much for your thoughts. Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO of Finance with Mukhtar. Thank you so much for joining us from Lagos. We apologize to our viewers. We're not able to bring in Oladipo Ajayi, but we promise we'll be bringing his thoughts to you throughout our bulletins subsequently. Let's move on now. Nigeria's National Youth Conference, the first in more than a decade, is expected to hold in the first week of February. And the 30-day gathering was introduced in response to recent youth agitations against the Nigerian government. The organizers plan to engage delegates on critical issues affecting young people in the country, and that includes the rising cost of living, unemployment, access to quality education, social services, just to name a few. We'll take a short break now. When we return, I'll be speaking to Sagir Ibrahim, who's been covering the story. He'll tell us more. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now we're going to be talking about the Nigeria Youth Conference that's going to be taking place in the first week of February. And to discuss that with me is Sagir Mohammed. He's been covering the story for us here at News Central. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, a 30-day conference with young people. Are we talking about the same Nigerians? What are they going to be talking about?
Well, good evening, Adesha. Good evening, viewers. Thank you for having me on tonight. So a quick backstory. The President of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu, first made the announcement for the National Youth Conference during his Independence Day address on the 1st of October of 2024. Now, since then, the President, of course, has been expectant that this conference would serve as sort of a melting pot between the government and, of course, restive youth who are taken to the street for quite a number of times. First instance in 2024, we saw the End Bad Governance protest and, of course, the aftermath of that, 10 days of consistent protesting. We saw in August as well the Fearless in October protest, which also took place all in an avenue for young Nigerians to drive home their demands to the government on what they are expecting in terms, of development, in terms of all of the issues that, they've been facing. So the president is hoping that all of these issues will be discussed during this conference, which would serve, as a dialogue. Now, during the course of my interaction with some Nigerians, they've expressed mixed views, of course, if you may, in terms of expectations. Now, I spoke with a public affairs analyst, of course. I spoke also with a legal practitioner and a communications expert, all of whom had this to say on the matter. Take a look.
It's 2005 political confab under Obasanjo. We had 2014 national conference under Goodluck Jonathan that came up with about 600 recommendations. Many of them were never touched.
We've had incidents where, over time, gatherings of this nature, huge gatherings of this nature are taking place. But up to date, I'm not sure that we've seen that transform the well-being of youth.
Why confab? There are so many channels that the government can try to reach the youth. Then how are delegates going to be selected? Who are those that are going to be recommending these delegates? Because if at the end of the day, you end up gathering 90% of youths that are pro-government, you're not doing anything.
All of this looks very well intended. For 30 days, these conversations are going to be happening and taking place. I hope it is televised live. I hope they have, we're going to be taking it live. Is this going to be another talk shop, is what I hear in my head, some young people asking. Do you think?
Well, Adesha, it's the same question that's in my head as well. And of course, I asked these questions to some of the respondents. Well, they gave varying responses on the issues. While some of them feel that It's probably just going to be a leaf from the old note. You know, this is not the first time, of course, that Nigeria has had, you know, a conference such as this. Although it was not a youth conference, but we saw something similar, you know, take place in around 2014 or thereabout, when the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, you know, had occasioned a national conference, hopefully to address the issues. But then again, the recommendations from that conference, there's a lot to be desired in terms of implementation of that recommendation. And Nigerians did not shy away from, of course, letting all of this known. Still talking with the same individuals who responded, they had this to say regarding concerns, especially on the issue of implementation of the recommendations that may come out of the conference. Take a look.
We need to give the administration benefit of doubt. Is this a welcome development? It is. Hear them out. Let them bring their own ideas on how governance could be better done. Then government will sift through it. But what I would not want is to kill whatever recommendation in view.
My concern is really with the mobilization for that confab. It shouldn't be business as usual. The mobilization should be robust, such that an average Nigerian who ordinarily does not care about what happens in government should be given an opportunity to come and discuss how it pinches them in their shoe, because it was the protest that bordered on survival.
We have a huge implementation problem in Nigeria. Things are so bad right now between government and the youth that even if it's a 10% show of good faith,
we need to give the administration benefit of doubt. Is this a welcome development? It is. Hear them out.
Sagir Ibrahim, News Central's correspondent, thank you so much for that excellent reporting on the Nigeria Youth Conferences coming up in the first week of February. I know you keep an eye on it, so we'll be telling our viewers how it is going when the time comes. Thank you.
Pleasure, Adesha. Thank you very much.
We'll take another break. When we come back, we have more stories lined up for you, so stay with us. As businesses resume after Christmas and New Year festivities, poultry sellers in the nation's capital, Abuja, say they're still grappling with losses incurred during the season, as many of their stock remain unsold. Some of them spoke to News Central Television in Abuja, saying that despite the expectations of high sales during the festivities, a substantial part of their stock remain unsold. Our correspondent Joshua Imarai reports.
For Nigerians like Ngoche Felicia, rearing chickens for the Christmas and New Year festivities has always been a moment to look up to. With the increase in the cost of chicken feed, vaccination, and basic chicken medication, which caused a hike in prices, many sellers hope to recoup their investment during the festivities.
Before I used to buy chicken 120, 100 naira a day old, but now 1,001 something. So it's very expensive.
Chicken sellers at the Nyanya market in Abuja were not left out, as many of them had unsold stock, with the price of chicken affected by inflation and increasing by over 100% when compared to this time last year.
During Christmas time, we face many challenges about the market. The things are still cost muchly, though we buy it and then we'll sell. Like other years, we would buy it plenty, like 300, 200 pieces, and then we'll sell it. But this time, because the challenge it is, we didn't get much market, just few of us, just few.
Many consumers say that they had to adjust their budget because of the high price of chicken.
We enjoyed previous Christmas, but this time it wasn't really that good. I got 2 chicken for 15,000, and it's actually the same size.
However, for individuals like Hussein Ibrahim, who renders butchering services at the market, his own story was different as business went as normal.
This Christmas is better than last year because this year I keep more than 200, the way I tell you. But that last year, many people don't have money to buy some things.
The festive season brought misfortunes for different stakeholders. Though chicken is a staple commodity on the tables of many Nigerians, they say they are hoping the price of chicken will be more affordable during the next festive season. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai. For Nigerians like Ngoche Felicia.
The Nigeria Police Force, alongside a lawmaker representing Kano, has initiated efforts to reunite 59 children allegedly trafficked from Kano State with their families. This followed the arrest of a suspected trafficker, Idris Ibrahim, by the FCT Police Command on his way to Nasarawa State. and subsequent handover to the lawmaker in Abuja. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, has more.
The children, aged between 4 and 12 years, were transported in this vehicle on their way to Nasarawa State from Kano. However, luck was not on their side as they were intercepted by police officers along the Abuja-Kano road on January 6th. The police said that the incident, categorized as a case of suspected child abuse and human trafficking, is due to a lack of proper documentation or parental consent.
The vehicle was driven by one Ali Ibrahim, a male resident of Kano State, accompanied by his motorboy named Azan Ibrahim, also of Kano State. The bus was found to be transporting 59 male children aged between 4 to 12 years old.
However, 60-year-old Idris Ibrahim has denied the allegations, claiming that he sought the parents' consent before moving the children to Nasarawa State for Quranic education.
He said that he collected them from their parents. He's teaching them Islamic education.
Immediately after Ibrahim was paraded, a lawmaker from Kano State visited the FCT police commands to facilitate the release of the children. He attributes the issue to a practice prevalent in the northern region of the country.
And I know their mission is to go for Quranic education. Then they transfer them to police headquarters, and after interrogation and the questions, then we now agree that they will release them to social welfare of the FCTs, and they release them to me to take them back home.
The lawmaker is calling on the government to do more to stop the trend.
You know, naturally, it is in our own culture, in our own tradition. Now we are in transition. We want to change the narration, and you need to do a lot. We need government intervention. We need society intervention, and we need individual parent intervention to stop it. Let us devise another way of teaching Quran.
While the police have reiterated their commitment to protecting vulnerable groups from exploitation and abuse, the lawmaker is calling for collective efforts to eliminate any form of child abuse. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
The United States has accused Sudan's Rapid Support Forces, RSF, and allied militia groups of committing genocide, citing widespread atrocities against civilians, effectively imposing sanctions on RSF leader Mohamed Dagalo, also known as Hemeti. The sanctions freeze any U.S. assets belonging to Dagalo and bar him from entering the United States. 7 RSF-owned companies in the United Arab Emirates and 1 individual were also sanctioned for procuring weapons for the paramilitary group. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the leader of the RSF has repeatedly broken commitments to protect Sudanese civilians, including those made in the 2023 Jeddah Declaration and the 2024 Code of Conduct. Well, it's time for some money talks with Perpetual from our business desk. Perpetual, what is business looking like tonight?
Well, it's interesting to know that the 2025 budget is still on the front burner. But apart from that, I think we should also pay attention to the loan from China Development Bank, especially because of the impact it will have on transportation. We'll take a break. When we come back, I'll give you the full gist.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
China Development Bank has approved a $254.76 million loan to Nigeria to advance the 203-kilometer Kano to Kaduna standard gauge railway project. This announcement comes ahead of Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's visit to Nigeria, where he will meet President Bola Tinubu and senior officials. The railway, part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, is expected to cost $973 million, but faced delays due to funding challenges. Constructed by China's Civil Engineering Construction Corporation, the railway will connect Kano and Abuja, providing safe and efficient transportation while addressing regional security concerns. The National Assembly's Joint Committee on Appropriations met with President Bola Tinubu's economic team to discuss the 49.7 trillion naira 2025 appropriation bill. The committee raised concerns over the large disparity between recurrent and capital expenditure in the 2024 budget, highlighting the low release of funds for capital projects. The lawmakers also urged the economic team to prioritize the release of more funds for capital projects to ensure a tangible impact on the population, especially as the current budget extends until June 30, 2025. Meanwhile, the retreat on the 2025 budget initially set for Thursday was postponed to next Wednesday. And in Southern Africa, Zambia's kwacha has reached record lows this year, trading at 27.95 per dollar on Wednesday after hitting 28.05 on Tuesday. The currency has fallen nearly 15% in 6 months, reflecting pressure on the copper-producing nation's economy. A severe drought, exacerbated by El Nino, has caused industrial slowdowns, reduced copper production, and slashed hydroelectric output from the Kariba Dam. These challenges follow Zambia's $11 billion debt default in 2020 and its subsequent restructuring. While brief gains occurred post-restructuring, analysts now point to worsening economic conditions and limited support for the kwacha, despite recent dollar sales for tax payment. And finally, on the global scene, a global bond sell-off persisted on Wednesday, causing stocks to decline and the dollar to surge. The benchmark 10-year U.S. Treasury yield rose to 4.73%, its highest since April 2024. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 0.39%, while the S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.50% and 0.77% respectively. European shares also declined, with the Pan-European Stock 600 finishing down 2 basis points. The sell-off was fueled by signs of a strong U.S. economy, reducing the likelihood of further interest rate cuts. But that's it on Business News Tonight. It's back to you, Adeshawa.
It's time for some sports news with Babatunde Koiki. Babatunde, what is this controversy surrounding Eric Chelle? Who is this guy? Why is everybody hating on him?
And that is the big question a lot of Nigerians are trying to answer. Eric Chelle, unknown Malian manager, is the new manager of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. We'll be talking about all that and much more.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Hello and welcome to sports. Nigerians continue to react to the shock appointment of Malian Eric Chelle as the new coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Now, the 47-year-old was announced as the team's new handler by the Nigerian Football Federation, becoming the first man in history from a fellow African country to manage the national team. Sports journalists from across Nigeria and beyond have weighed in on the surprise appointment.
No coaching accomplishments to speak of besides coaching teams in the French and lower division. His biggest accomplishment, so to speak, was nearly getting to the semi-finals of the AFCON and perhaps beating something of a ragtag Super Eagles team under Finley George in a friendly match. So beyond that, we struggle to see why he was chosen.
It was really weird. I mean, you look at his CV and there's really nothing to hold on to there. We have coaches in Nigeria with far better CV.
Of Nigerians have been talking about wanting a foreign manager, but let's agree that we cannot afford a lot of the managers that we really want. Now, talking about the man who has taken the reins himself, he coached Mali at the AFCON. They got to the quarterfinals. They lost narrowly to eventual champions and host Cote d'Ivoire. So I don't think it's as bad an appointment as a lot of people are saying it. Early last year, the Super Eagles played against this same Eric Chelle-led Mali side, and we lost by 2-0. He has a defining style. In 5 of the matches he played at the AFCON, he had more possession than his opponents on 4 occasions, and they were able to create at least 10 shots per game. So he's not the coach that we want.
And former Director General of the National Sports Commission, Amos Adamu, has revealed that he wasn't surprised that Nigeria returned from the Paris 2024 Olympics without any medals. Speaking in Ilorin recently, Adamu revealed that he had anticipated the outcome, having warned the former sports minister, John Eno, about the impending failure months before the event began. Nigeria's 19th appearance at the Olympic Games ended in disappointment, marked by controversies and a lack of medals. The 88 Nigerian athletes across 12 sports, supported by 9 billion naira in government funding, ultimately fell short of expectations, marking the country's worst performance since London 2012. Adamu cautioned that unless decisive steps were taken, Nigeria might face a similar outcome in 2028 despite a larger budget. And English Premier League side West Ham United have sacked manager Yulen Lopetegui after just 6 months in charge. The 58-year-old former Wolves boss was appointed in May following the departure of David Moyes, but was officially took charge of the team on the 1st of July. Now the Hammers won just 6 Premier League matches during the Spaniards' tenure. Saturday's 4-1 defeat by Manchester City was the 9th loss in 20 league games this season and left the club in 14th place, 7 points above the relegation zone. The club have held talks with former Chelsea and Brighton boss Graham Potter about succeeding Lopetegui initially on a short-term deal. Former AC Milan boss Paulo Fonseca and ex-Paris Saint-Germain boss Christophe Gaultier, currently in charge of Saudi Pro League side Al Duhail, have also been approached by West Ham United. And that's all we have on sports.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Welcome back, everyone. You know, there's always something happening in the world of celebrities, and to break it all down tonight, I'm being joined by Edewo from our entertainment desk. Edewo, I hear that the King of Boys is back.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The 3rd installment, and it's going to be massive because the expectations are high. People are ready. Well, definitely we'll bring you all the update. No problem. All the update on that.
Okay.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
All right, so on entertainment, yes, like we said earlier, The King of Boys 3 is coming out, yes, as announced by Kemi Adetiba, the one who owns the movie, and she put that out for people to know that, yes, it's coming again, and the expectations are high already. People are super excited, and yes, she put out as well that Shola Sobowale is returning as Eniola, and people are like, wow, and if people say that that's her element, that the movie really explains or really puts Shola in that light. So as it is now, knowing that the movie was one of the biggest movies in 2018 when it came out, The King of Boys.
The highest grossing.
Yes, 245 million at the time. And the second installment came out. It was huge again on Netflix. And the expectations, like I said, people really want to see this movie as it's coming out sometime at the end of this year. Well, the cast list has not been revealed yet, aside Shola Sobowale. So we're hoping that we can see new people and we see the returning of some old people as well.
So tell us more, what else is happening in the entertainment industry?
Well, something huge again, like I say, if you know a young guy who decided to put out a good song at the end of 2024, if you've heard the song, I Will Know, you have it? You have it? Come on. Okay, so we're talking about Fido. Fido put out a new song in the first of this year called Joy Is Coming. And that song has taken over charts. It's received unexpected accolades, and the love that Fido has because of that song right now, he's taking the world by storm. And we're glad that, yeah,
What did you say the title of the song is?
Joy Is Coming.
You know, Nigerians love positivity. We love our prayers. So, I mean, when was it released?
It came out this year, 1st of January. It was a gift to Nigerians.
It was perfect timing.
Yes,
because
it was.
You know what? That's the time we all pray and speak into our year, and to have a song like that, great timing, great marketing gig. What else is going on?
Something very, very interesting happened on social media. This is about Chioma Apota, right, the actress. Rumors were going around that she was expecting, or she had just delivered a baby, and it went wild, right? And her co-actor, Omoni Oboli, also went on the charts to say, congratulations, let's start making baby names. You know,
wait a minute, having a baby is not a bad thing, is it?
No, it's not a bad thing, but she has come out to say, no, I'm not having a baby. I'm not having a baby, everybody should calm down. But she used that publicity to talk about her new YouTube channel. Just imagine.
Do you know that seems to be a trend in the entertainment industry now, because a couple of comedians have written something that startled their fans, only for them to realize or discover that they were only trying to promote their new product.
Exactly.
So that seemed to be the trend now.
So it was like a strategy to just, get people's attention and let them know that I have something coming.
I wonder how they come up with that script. That's pretty interesting.
It's smart. Now the final, what I'll say is the biggest one, the NWCP Image Awards. It's the nominees list are out, and we're super excited because we have a lot of Nigerians there as well.
You don't say. Who are they?
We have Wizkid, we have Thames, we have Davido, we have our very own, now not just for music, we're talking about movies as well. Ayo Edebiri she got 5 nominations on that as well. 5 nominations.
That is interesting.
It's huge. It's huge. It's a huge one for Nigeria.
It's a great time to be a Nigerian.
100%.
Isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much, Edward.
No problem.
And that'll be all tonight. Thank you so much for watching. You can continue to watch News Central on DSTV channel 422. My name is Adeshawa Josh, and I will see you around.